if we are supposed to be live already. And guys, welcome back to our talking room. Yes, and we last time we agreed that our topic is going to be, planning, and that's interesting point. I would love to know your opinion and how you're dealing with the planning thing. Well, because definitely life and the world is going more and more uncertain, and probably people have a different feeling about kind of the whole planning thing. And for example, where the place where I live, Barcelona, Spain, we are kind of moving right now backwards. So there were some kind of cases and increasing, and Catalonia kind of now going to the stage 2, which is, well, closer to lockdown again. So like whatever we planned, I planned to go to France, I planned kind of different things. Now it's like, oops. So, or things are changing super quickly and not always in a a desired direction. So I would like to know your opinion. How you deal with that planning question, and what is your advice? Who wants to start?
Irene, go ahead. Go ahead, Irene.
Wow, what
Gentleman.
a gentleman.
Gentleman, exactly. I knew it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Oh, well, as you say, things are going to be more and more uncertain. Even we are not facing, especially where I live, the case that you have in Barcelona or in the United States. We are quite in the contrary place. Even the government don't agree with that, but all of us has many different issues to face. And planning is really difficult now because maybe you plan to, as you said, Alex, I plan to go there or in that other place, but we have this rise of prices because for example, hotels or other stuff are dealing with new rules, and these make things very, very different. And also the agents changes and all the stuff, so they have to cover all the outcomes with new income. So if I plan this year to go to the holidays, I have to change my plan, for example. Or I have tried to have an agreement with a coach from Milan, but they are still in the phase 2, so they cannot move everywhere, and we don't know when will be possible. So how can we make a plan to organize a retreat, for example, and help people? Because this training is based on hypnosis. So there is something that could be done online, but the most important training should be done in person. And, all these challenges make plan really difficult.
Okay.
That's what I'm facing.
I agree with you. So we just, as a result, I was asking you guys, how you are dealing with that situation. Now you are gently passing that question to John, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. Okay.
I live in uncertainty. I allow the uncertainty to take place, and I say, well, maybe I don't plan, and let's see what's going on today.
Yeah. Okay.
Living in a present moment.
That's an approach. Okay. So John, how you are dealing with the whole thing?
So to answer your question directly, there are days when I think that I am managing this well and thinking about the future. However, I would say that there's more days and more moments where it is overwhelming and that there's so much uncertainty. Here's an interesting example. For years and years and years, I mean, I've been going to this beach since I was a young boy with my parents, except for when I was in university. As soon as we were done, we went back to always gathering at this beach every single summer. And what happened? We had to cancel because the beach and where we go, it was getting so bad, and unfortunately people were not following the protocols, etc. My parents are older now, and the susceptibility of them, and their vulnerability, as well as my family. Here I was in this moment, and I had to address it. I had to call and I had to cancel. I had to deal with the potential loss of monies that were put towards this vacation. And I realized that one of the things that I had to work through was not holding on to all these memories of the past, right? All of the things, certainly I could think about those good times, but where I kept going was, oh, I'm not going to have this again. I'm not, it was the loss, and I had to work through that loss a little bit. But somebody reminded me when we were talking about this situation, they said to me, it would not be the same, even if you went, even if you were able to go. That experience would be so utterly different than all the years past because of the nature of what's going on. And in some way, that provided me a little bit more of comfort in recognizing that it would have been so different, that in fact, I would have probably been very stressed out and very anxious because I'd be worrying about my parents. I'd be worrying about my family. I'd be looking at, are people following the rules? I would have been so distracted that I would have not enjoyed myself whatsoever. And so it took this conversation and this shift to say, I can't base things on the past. I have to be, into Irene's point, it's the present, right? But I did have to reflect and really come to that space of saying, no, I can't be held into this idea of what it was like before. It is different. And when I recognized that, I probably would not have enjoyed myself. I would have been so worried about taking care of everybody and ensuring that everything was okay, that a week at the beach probably would not have been an exciting time for me. And so, but again, it took that conversation with somebody to say, hey, remember, it's not going to be like it was before. It's not going to be the same.
Context matters. Yeah.
Yeah. And to the point of looking into the future, so what I decided to do is I called the agent and I said, look, is there a possibility maybe in the fall that we could maybe go? And so without attaching to it, without expecting that it's going to happen, I inquired. And there's a possibility that we may be able to go when the crowds die down. But that was the other key for me, is I could not be attached to what might happen because I have no idea. I put some things into play. I tried to make some arrangements, but I keep reminding myself that I can't be attached to it because it's very possible that it will change. So that's the other piece of, not getting bound by how we might be looking at the future. I think it's okay to think about it, but not get attached to it, not cling to it and hold on to it, because we are in this place of uncertainty. So this is the interesting dance, right, that we go on. But that's kind of my focus on dealing with the past, dealing with the present, and how I kind of look at some of the future opportunities.
Very nice, interesting. Lots of things. When I was listening to Irene and you, a few things kind of resonating and crossing my mind in a peculiar way. One thing is that the notion is of of the different levels of planning. I mean, somehow we are like when, for example, I try to make plans about trips. Yeah, I understand that uncertainty there is much, much higher. But at the same time, I realize that there are actually levels of planning where I can plan my day still. I mean, and I can plan how I spend my hours and where I'm going, and maybe where I'm gonna have dinner. We're going outside. So it seems like a kind of like a simple, trivial thing, but actually, I mean, I just want to kind of bring to kind of my own attention is that there are levels which are still kind of higher under control. I mean, we still can plan, day or week or whatever, but there are some particular instances, like maybe international traveling or I don't know, or some kind of physical, those are now uncertainties there higher. But I just want to, for myself, kind of to remind myself that it's not a globally everything is super uncertain. No, there are certain particular things and the higher probability of kind of not happening or changing. Other things are not. And so it's like one thing is how I personally deal with that. Like I am planning what I can, and I'm a little bit more aware that there are other plans which are with a higher probability of being changed. And this is one point. Second point, what come across when I was listening to both of you is that I remember myself that, I don't know, maybe 20, 30 years ago when I hate planning. At that point, I had a belief that doesn't really make any sense to plan because everything goes anyway, somehow, not the way I wanted. So as a result, I was kind of in a resistance and avoidance of any planning. Later, when I went through my NLP education and kind of coaching, I realized that, well, actually, no matter what, planning is a good thing. I mean, but as John just said, planning with a very high kind of level of flexibility, knowing that, well, along the way, maybe halfway towards kind of certain destination point, there could be new information. And I am willing to change my plan anytime when that new information will interfere. I mean, and be totally okay with that, as you said, not being attached from the beginning, kind of already setting up the mindset that those plans will be flexible. But I still believe that that planning keeps you kind of looking forward. It keeps you, some kind of. I do believe that the whole planning thing is a very, very powerful and kind of reliable strategy. Reliable in terms of moving us forward and keeping us organized. So, what's your opinion, Irene? Is anything kind of pops out when I was
Yes,
elaborating my approach?
absolutely. Because now I am having 4 different plans
Okay.
about things that, yes, as you said, I am very flexible to, include news information to change some of the part of the plan. And first is about selling a house. Today I contact the estate agency because now we are dealing with my mother Alzheimer disease that she's developing. So as my father, so it could be hard to say, but because we had already the experience with my father, we are now willing to plan to sell the house to have more money that she can have a help, because we don't know, me and my sister, if we can be all the time with her, and maybe she need a help from an outside social worker. And so we plan to sell the house in order to give my mother a better aging
Service.
and service with their illness. And another plan is about I was contacted from one business coach that is one of the top 50 on the world, and is and it was that I am in my country his partner for his brand. So he offered to me a training, and my role is about translating his book and selling in my country. And I said yes, because it was something completely new. And now I'm planning to have a daily structure, to give time for translation, give time
Yeah.
for our meeting, give time to this other plan. And I'm planning to write a book with a friend that she's living in Kazakhstan now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And tomorrow we have a conversation with a consultant. So I'm planning something to build my business as my Tuesdays with you now.
Yeah.
And this is a plan, it's a part of the plan. What is the purpose of this is give value, deliver some value to people, and make them know that we are coach, we are many backgrounds, we are professional, and we are in the same place. We are dealing with the same issues, and we are trying to give our idea on how can we deal with all this uncertainty and this very, very VUCA world.
Yep. Oh, perfect. Obviously, some things can be planned, and some things have a quite a probability of being completed and go by scheduler, no matter what. And some plans are just having kind of putting on hold or having higher probability of being kind of changed. It's perfect. John, do you have any feedback or insights in our comments?
Yeah, as I listened to both you and Irene, I mean, one of the things that came up was this idea of expectation. Like,
Mm-hmm.
what is the level of expectation? What how much expectation are we putting on things, both present but also in the future? Um, and the other question is, what is in my control? What am I able to control, and what are those things that are simply out of my control? Because I think, Alex, you mentioned, there are things that you can do, and Irene even talked about there are things I
Yeah.
can do that are in my control. And I think as I was listening to this, what came up was that's that's a lot of what people need right now. I know even for myself, just to have this sense that I do have a little bit of control over something that's related to my work or to my life. Um, while the world feels like there's a lack of control. And I think that is that subtle piece, but asking the question of what is in my control. Um, but that's a fine line, because when we talk about control, then where does expectation come in? Where does how much control do we have over things? Because I think for me, the lesson has been I only have a certain level. I still have to work within this idea that things may change. Um, and I think the other thing that came up for me when you were speaking, both of you, was this idea of opportunity and looking at ways that new things can be created, right? I think with some people, even myself, sometimes I get so bogged down into that I don't know, we call it ickiness, this cloud, that if we open ourselves up, there could be opportunity for something new, even through maybe planning, but it might take a different path, right? How do we look at that path that may be taking us off what we planned? We could be seeing a whole new landscape, a whole new um, vision. It almost reminds me of when a friend of mine took me. We were in the island of Anguilla. It's a small island in the Caribbean, and she was driving the truck, and we were going over rocks, and we were I mean, I thought for sure this was going to be the end, right? She's driving, we're going in this car, and she just kept telling me, relax, John, relax, John. And let me tell you what, when we got past the rocks, we got past all this crazy terrain, went through the forest, right in front of us was the most incredible and beautiful beach that I had ever seen in my life. No one was there. It was absolutely just pristine. And I always remember that, because I remember how anxious I was, and how I kept saying to her, just turn around, we can't go. And she just kept telling me, just relax. And she said, wait to, wait to see what happens at the end. She already knew, of course, but that was a lesson to me too. I can't be stuck in what was happening right at the moment. I got to this place and I thought, wow, if I had never gone through this experience, I would have never experienced this brand new, seascape that was absolutely, and still to this day, and this is almost 30 years ago, I still can imagine that. And so it's a reminder, that there might be these rocks we have to kind of traverse through, but you never know what's on the other side. And it could be something new and beautiful as well. So,
well, you brought kind of new flavor in our conversation, because no, seriously, because like even when I was describing, like, okay, something I can control and something I cannot, and I understand now after you kind of explain your nuance, and I realized that in that, when I was telling and something I don't have control over, I was still having some kind of flavor of resistance and not being happy. But the point is that everything what we call as an adventure, I don't know, something which, it's strange, because what is excitement and adventure? It's something which is happening with you. You haven't planned. I mean, when you go to some, I don't know, some trip, and obviously, imagine if you planned every damn step of that. I mean, like, okay, what kind of adventure is that? I mean, but so the point is that later, when something happens, during that trip, unexpected, later we will see it as an adventure, something like adrenaline, excitement, risk, maybe, or whatever. But strangely, when it comes to plans, when they're not going the way we plan, we have that kind of negative attitude towards, like, as if something went wrong. I mean, it's strange. I mean, like, it would be very powerful if you would have an attitude towards so-called, wrong events which messed up your plan, the same way as we treat adventure and traveling. Those things where we are not planning, kind of over planning, right? I mean, it's just a suggestion. I'm just curious why we have such a tendency kind of to the full control when it comes to our plans, and we are totally enjoy when we don't have that control in this other context. Does it make sense, guys?
Yes, absolutely. I had the same feeling that John was really changing the entire energy by thinking that maybe what will happen in the future could be even much better than we ever imagined. I had these feelings because we are going through such an incredible period that is unprecedented, but we don't know. Maybe it could be much better than we ever imagined what we do, because um, uh, listening to you and analyzing a little bit what was going on in my life now, I never like plan, I never like structure, and I never like something that is organized. But strangely, in the most uncertain moment of my life, I'm learning not only this, but how can I partner with other people and face things together despite what's so-called the social distance. Because we are in 3 different countries, and John, you are really far, far away from us. Because if I want, I'm in 1 hour with the plan. I am in Barcelona, but I think I need 12 hours of airplane to go to United States. But we are in the same place now. We are facing the same challenges. We are sharing. We are exchanging energy. We are exchanging ideas, and we are trying to get better,
And
have
that
a
was
better
not planned.
life.
that was not planned at all.
Yes, this is an adventure. So how can we put this adventure energy in our plan? That's my question.
Yeah, I totally agree, and it's. I mean, some consequences, an interesting consequences of that so-called bad events, and bad. It's like a first snapshot evaluation. When something goes against normal routine, you kind of snapshot, bam, it's bad. But like I remember I was right now I changed apartment for the different one, but the previous apartment I remember in the middle of lockdown I noticed that the birds are singing so loud. It's like, and when I go like once a week kind of to some supermarket, and it's so fresh air, unusual kind of freshness, and so it's I was like, wow, the Mother Earth recovering so quickly, as soon as we stopped kind of, I don't know, shitting kind of around, the Mother Earth is immediately recovering. I was like, wow, maybe it's a good thing, we locked for a while. I mean, I don't know, it's like, of course, yeah, but I was just kind of playing right now. Like, okay, something went kind of against our plans, and maybe that's a really good thing, at least in some, instances or some directions. John, what's your take on it?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just thinking, as I digest this, because I do. I mean, who knew? Unexpectedly, it went into this place, right? And it was a shift in energy, and I think that is the key here. And it reminded me again of something I read the other day, where it said, "Am I simply going to exist, or am I going to truly live my life and thrive and enjoy myself, despite what is happening?" And that really struck me of just existing versus living, and really thinking about thriving. But then what really made me think was, what would it be like to also look at life as an adventure? That's the thriving part of it. That behind here we don't know what it looks like, but the excitement, of what the possibilities might be. And I think the key is, again, if we don't have that expectation, then we may save ourselves from not having to go down that, I call it the rabbit hole of negativity. Oh, it didn't work out. It wasn't the way I planned it. And so I guess what comes up for me is, how do we keep ourselves open to all these experiences? How much are we missing? Maybe there are these new things that are before us, like you said, Alex, even in the simplest of ways, to hear the birds. I have heard this even for myself, how many people said, "I'm really hearing the birds."
Yeah,
That is so in its of itself so simple, but yet how powerful and beautiful. This was a moment that somebody took. All of a sudden they smell the fresh air. Sometimes these new things can be small. I don't even want to call them small, but
yeah,
the things that we take for granted, maybe, oftentimes, that is the shift, that is the change. It's seeing something in a new way and appreciating it and having gratitude for it as well. Um, but it is, for me, it's like, how am I going to live my life? I mean, this conversation has actually energized me, because I'm thinking, how do I want to show up now? I want to show up differently. I want to be more excited, even though, yes, all this stuff is going on. And what will that excitement do with other people and for other people? And when I'm with other people, um, what happens? How does that energy begin to flow to others as well? That's where Irene was going, to be with people and to partner with them, and to do your work, but that's around energy. That's that positive energy that's flowing. So yeah.
amazing. Amazing how like a sharp change of circumstances can I would say potentially, maybe not always, but potentially, maybe with some individuals, or maybe it's like to become a wake up call. Wake up in a in a good way, because when your routine is kind of damaged or destroyed, or you cannot follow it, you need to be suddenly, conscious to create a new one. I mean, it's like you almost, how to say it, forced, at least for a while, to be conscious, because you just cannot sleep. There is no routine. You need to create new one, and creating a routine is a conscious act. And so as a result, like when the world is changing everybody's circumstances and routines, it's a global wake up call by default. And that's how I I see it. And planning, probably it's time to develop completely new way of planning, being totally flexible, not attached to your plans, and be okay with like a stop. I would say to stop keeping illusion that you are the god. Like, finally, okay, I had plans. Oops, and it's totally okay. And so this is guys. I mean, this is I think that's nice. I really enjoyed those angles which you brought, because I feel right now when I entered into the conversation, I had some kind of I had certain particular position, and now half an hour later I feel my position has I don't know, 5-6 legs. I mean, it's become richer, and I like it.
We both nodding, so we have the same feeling, the same experience. For some way there was something that was already bubbling up within me that now with this conversation is anchored and reached. And I'm feeling this new positivity and how important it is talk and having and gaining new perspective by through our conversation, and how this conversation that are simple can be so transformational. We all feel that we have this new energy, new excitement, that no matter what's going on, we can be alive, fully alive, and give our own contribution to make this world a better place. That's amazing.
Yeah. Okay, guys, are you okay to stop at this point? John, would you like to say something in the end?
Yeah, you know what, Irene, that was beautiful. That is a beautiful ending, because I wrote down transform and positivity before you said it. So I'm so with you. So that was a beautiful ending to this meeting and conversation today. So thank you.
Super. Guys, thank you both. And I hope we are gonna plan some future topics very soon. So see you soon, guys.
All right. Thank you, Alex.
See you.
Thank you.
Bye
Irene.
bye.
Irene.
Thank
Bye,
you.
everyone.